better basketball and well enough to get wins when you go on the road and you play a team the caliber of Xavier and what they bring to you. You got to do. You got to bring your A game. You have to do just about everything right. And sometimes when you don't, it's the other team that causes it. And I thought that they did a lot of good things today to cause us to not play as well as we wanted to. And then there are certain things that we didn't do as well to cause it. And we talked about a lot of things, what we needed to do offensively, execution-wise, and defensively. But when you play Xavier, you got to bring your hard hat and you got to strap your boots on tight. And so today it was a rebound, and then I thought that they, especially in the second half, that they dominated us on, and that's part of what their program is about. They're fierce in that way. Their attack, as good as JP is, what gets lost in the whole thing is that he's a tremendous offensive rebounder, and that has to go into your game plan. Guys that come off the bench, Gates, who's long and gets his hands on a lot of balls on the offensive backboards, is something that you have to be mindful of. And I don't know that we did a really good job of that today, but credit Chris and the guys for being really mindful of that and doing what most Xavier teams do night in and night out.
Coach, a career night for Brandon Cyrus. Is this the best you've seen him play an all-around game thus far?
One of the things that is going on right now with our team, and he played well last game and he played well tonight, and is that he's growing. I don't know on a lot of teams that you just throw a freshman in there and you play him 30-something minutes, 20-something minutes, and expect that you're going to get the kind of performance that a junior or a senior can bring. But he was recruited for a particular reason, and I think over the course of the season, because of his personality, that he's growing. The same thing with Trey. I think the games are growing. I think as we try to put this program together, the hard part to the whole thing is that the results that a guy like Brandon can give you, what we saw tonight, sometimes don't manifest themselves until year 2 or 3 or after that. And so, when you're trying to come into somebody's building and win games, you need that kind of performance on a regular basis, as well as the guys that are, on his team or out on the floor doing the same kinds of things.
Coach, how much does your conversations, your game plan change talking about this Xavier team with Quentin Gooden as opposed to Edmund Sumner?
Well, Sumner is you could see it when he was a freshman. He's a unique individual. He's long, he's fast, he's skilled, and he's learned. And I don't know that he was born to play point guard, but he's learned how to be a really, really good point guard. So Gooden, no disrespect, is not him, but at the same point in time, he's a quality basketball player for Xavier basketball, and that means that he's accepted what that means. And to me, I don't know him personally, but he looks like a great teammate. He's in there to do what he has to do to help the team. As the games go on, he's become more of a factor on the offensive end. He's not there to just get JP and Trayvon the basketball. And I think, it's not just him. You take some of the other guys that have not had prominent roles. Jones, for instance, who's been out most of the year, and he comes in and gets 16 points the other night and plays well today, and always around the backboard. So, they're different over the long haul. I think they'll adjust, and guys will assume a little bit different roles, and obviously the two main scorers will be a little bit more aggressive, and the guys that stand beside them and create the good chemistry will play more and better roles.
Do you think the tendency for the rest of the conference is to try to pressure Xavier a little bit more without having him, or not really?
Well, part of the problem when you do that is that once they get out of it, half court or whole court, there's a lot of skill guys. So you got to be really careful if you're going to just start pressing them, because once you get over the top, I wouldn't trust my defense against Kaiser Gates at the ball at 22 feet over the top, or a lot of those guys for that matter. So you got to be really careful. I just think they have to continue to evolve, and I think the great thing about it is you have a guy in Gooden who's good enough to make things happen. Is he going to be first team all Big East? Probably not, but he can certainly lead this team, to have very similar, if not the same or better expectations that they had when Edwin was in the lineup.